All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Wonderful to see all of you. So, another key point, I'm just going to jump right in and then move on into the second class here, is that when we're understanding that there's something there that we thought was there, excuse me, let me say this again. When we're in a position of trying to understand what has emptiness, and then we say, okay, what do we think is there that's not there? And how do we interact with it? Right? That's the main question. Like our behaviors are driven by things that we think are there, including our vows. Okay. You think that your vows are coming from their own side too. And so when we understand what's happening, we understand that there's actually three elements of things that are happening at any in any given moment. Right. So we're going to do this in the sense of giving for this right now. So if I'm giving something to someone, like right now, like I have a cup, right? I have this cup here, right? And I want to give it to somebody else, right? So I have this cup that I want to give. There's element number one is me, right? There's me, the giver. And then there's the person who's receiving it, which is the second element. And then the third element is, like I said, there's a person here and a person here. The element in between the gift itself. Okay. There's three givings. There's three elements in any kind of giving. There's the giver, the gift, the person who's receiving, and then the gift itself. All right. And I want to, and this is key for your practice. Everything else we're talking about, this is the key to shift things. Okay. And you can call the act of giving or the gift itself as the third element. All right. But each of those elements themselves have emptiness, right? Tim, the giver, has emptiness. The person who's receiving it has emptiness. And the gift itself has emptiness, right? There's nothing in this scenario that is not coming from seeds, right? And so any interaction that we have with anybody, especially people that we think are wrong, they're not doing what they should be doing, what we think they should be doing, right? There's an emptiness in those of three elements, right? There's the emptiness of me, the person that's doing something. There's a person there and what's happening in between the two of us, right? There's me, them, and the thing that's happening. This person's doing something I don't like. And each of those three things have emptiness. Okay. Why why are you a person that's in this situation? Why is this person in this situation? And why are you seeing them do this thing? Okay. And so why is that person there? You put them there. Why is that person not doing what you think they should be doing? Because you put them there. Why are you there? You put yourself there. Okay. It drives us down into this place of personal responsibility, right? And someone keeps asking me, and I completely disagree with them, and I'm going to keep disagreeing with them till they understand, is that there's a bodhisattva vow that says when the time comes to cut somebody off, we should cut them off, right? Like when somebody's misbehaving needs to be stopped. Okay. But when is the time to do that? Right. And it's a very subtle thing. And the time to cut someone off is not always when you think it's the time to cut someone off. And you have to understand, because if you're not thinking about emptiness and what's going on, that your seeds brought you here, your seeds brought them there, and the thing that's happening is also your seeds too. Right? Sorry. Right? All those things are related to each other, right? So yes, we have to stop people when they're hurting others. But what does it mean to hurt other people, right? Like, yes, of course, if someone's going to step out in the road and get run over by a bus, you've got to go stop them. Like, right? Don't. But if you've ever raised children, like, that sometimes you have to let them make mistakes, right? Guess what? If you're not an Arya, you're making the mistake thinking that they're making a mistake. Okay. It's a very, very delicate line, and the you can't lose by being kind to people. That doesn't mean that we tolerate bad behavior, but sometimes we have to ask ourselves the question, why do I see this in somebody else? Like, yes, if someone is like stealing someone's wallet, stop them, right? But like minor things, maybe there's something else going on. Maybe there's something I don't understand, especially in a work environment. I mean, it's better to ask questions first. Like, well, what's going on? Let's figure this out. Let's collaborate. Let's work together. Let's not separate. Let's not distinguish. Let's not push each other away. We're all trying to do the same thing. We all have a common goal. And one of the most powerful things that someone said to me, my teacher said to me once, was around this point. You know, someone had been misbehaving for years, and they were hurting people. They really were hurting people. And finally we got to a point where it was time to cut them off. And I had said to my teacher, I said, look, we knew this was going on. I didn't know specifically, but other people knew it was going on for so long. And why did we let them keep doing it? And I won't ever forget this moment. And my teacher said, when you know what I know, and the implication was they had seen emptiness directly. They said, how would you treat your mental afflictions? How would you treat your projections? How would you treat them? Right? Even if they're misbehaving. How would you treat them? How would you take care of them or not take care of them? Right? Because the way that we treat other people, even when we disagree with them, has tremendous impact down the road. And every little seed that we plant can create mountains of bad karma or mountains of good karma for that matter. Right? Like, how do we act in kindness? If we're understanding those three elements, I brought myself here, I brought them here, and I brought the thing here, right? How do we navigate that? And it's not clear. It's not, but you can't go wrong with being kind. Even when you have to say, look, I disagree with you, or I don't think this is helpful, right? You can still say those things in kind ways. Like, this situation doesn't make sense to me, or I don't understand this, you know, trying to help them. And there's all these other, there's how do you treat the things that are coming from you is really the big question. How do you treat that? You know? And so this leads us into an incredibly important discussion, because if we're understanding the three elements of every situation, me, others, the thing that's happening, like I put myself here, I put you there, and I put the thing that's happening there, right? Which, by the way, is also the way to create more of the things that you want and stop the things you don't want. The understanding is the way to stop it, really. And it comes down to this a deep, deep idea of how can we get ourselves to a place where we can see emptiness directly? That's where we want to go. And that's where this class is going to be a discussion of is how do we prepare ourselves for that, right? If we understand that I put myself here, and I put you there, and then the seed that's happening between us, right? The thing that's happening is my fault. Now, from that other person's perspective, they put themselves there, they put you there, and then they also put the thing in between you as well. Okay. So good luck. Good luck. So what do you do with that idea, right? How do you work in um, how do you work in your own mind of understanding what's happening? How do you take that understanding and then drive it towards seeing emptiness directly? That's the big question. How do we drive it? Like, yes, I have emptiness, you have emptiness, the thing between us has emptiness. Great, fine, wonderful. Right. But how do we navigate that? Um, and it comes down to one key idea. And let me get this up. So there we go. Okay. Nope. False. Let's try that again. There we go. Cheetah Drak. Cheetah Drak. Okay. And this is the key to unraveling all of this. All right. And this means the idea chi means general, Chedrak means specific. Okay. And there's many, many different ways that we can understand and think about generals and specifics. And they're actually in the homework, you can go over them in your class. I want to spend the time talking about the deepest part. Okay. I think it's more more relevant use of our time to then go through what is happening in our minds and how can the study of this help us see emptiness directly? How can it get us to a point where we can see for the first time the seed opening in our mind? That's what we want to get to, right? Yes, everything has emptiness, but the trigger to see emptiness directly is seeing a seed open in your mind for the very first time. Okay. where you can have that experience where you're maybe looking at a pot on the stove, or you're looking at a mug, and you look at it, and all of a sudden you don't see a mug, you see the parts, and then you see the image open in your mind as cup or as pot on the stove, and it flies out of you, and you see how you made the pot. You see how pot was made. And if you can drive that experience, if you can push yourself to having that experience, that will then flip you over into seeing emptiness directly. Because they say that once you see the pot on the stove, you see the luminous image open in your mind for the very first time, then nothing can stop your direct perception of emptiness. Nothing. Okay. So that's what we're trying to get to. And so the study of Chichedrak, when studying emptiness, is key to launching or igniting that experience where you see the emptiness of yourself. You literally see the no oniku, your own. You meet a Buddha. How do you meet a Buddha? Meet a Buddha by seeing your own emptiness because it's the same emptiness that a Buddha has. And Kathy just made a really good point. It is not worth it to be busy with problems. Forget about the problems. I didn't say don't deal with the problems, right? But if we spend too much time on problems, then we don't spend the time on understanding why we have the problems in the first place. Okay. So in this study of Chitta where I'm going to go to the deepest meaning right now. And then that deepest meaning breaks into two parts. Chi, which is characteristic, or excuse me, Chi is quality. Chedrak is characteristic of. Okay. So we have Chi, which is the quality, right? Quality, right? And so what do we mean by quality? Okay. And what do we mean by characteristic of? So what I'd like you all to do is what we're going to do is we're going to take a moment. Let's close our eyes. We're going to do a very short meditation. You don't have to spend too much time adjusting yourself, getting yourself comfortable. Don't worry about it. Okay. Or if you're driving like Sandra, don't close your eyes when I tell you to close your eyes, Sandra. Perfect. She's driving a car. This is perfect for this meditation. Okay. Shouldn't be driving when you're in a Dharma class, but that's all right. I'll forgive you this time. All right. So close your eyes. And I'm going to say something, and then I want you to catch what you see in your mind. I'm going to say the word. I'm going to say a word, and then what do you see? Car. There's an image that popped into your mind. Now I'm going to say the car. All right, we'll do it again. It's such a simple meditation, you missed it. Okay, clear your mind. Don't think about purple-headed elephants in the room. Okay, go back to your breath. Car. The car. Okay. Let's open your eyes and we'll talk about it. Okay. When I said the word car, just car, remember the image that came to your mind. And then when I said the car, right? What happened, right? So what happened for me, strangely, when I said car, I this image comes to mind of just a general car. It's kind of red, it's big. It's actually the first car that my mom had that I remember as a kid. 1979 Chevrolet Impala. Burgundy. Okay. And then when I said the car, outside, a car honked its horn. Okay. Which was perfect. Right. Too bad you guys couldn't hear it. Right. You know, the car brings up a specific instance of a car. Luckily, I had something happen outside. But the idea that the car, you probably thought of a specific car that you have or that somebody has, right? The car. Sandra's in the car with her dog, right? So there's a difference between the two, okay? There's car, like let's just call car, right? We'll call it chi, like a quality car, like a general car, like an image that serves the purpose of being a general type of car that could be car for any car. Okay, let me say that again. Good luck, translators, interpreters. So the image in your mind, car, right, serves as a kind of a placeholder, right? General. It's a general image. Usually, it's kind of close to like the first car that you were taught. Not always, but like the first time like you went outside and you were like, "Mommy, what's that?" And mommy goes, "That's a car," right? And you're like, "What? Car?" And you're like, "No, car." You're like, "Car." And your mom's like, "Fine, yeah, it's a car," right? Because you can't pronounce all the sounds, right? Other languages, it's different, right? So that kind of image it's kind of burnt into your mind. So that first image, right? And of course, there's not a first image. Don't get attached to the first image, but it's useful for a discussion. That first image, car is a general, like we put it in quotations because it's so general, right? Someone told me to speed up in their Zoom. I'm not sure why I'm going. Most people tell me to slow down. Um, you know, it's a general car. It's almost like an archetype cat, as you said. You it'd be really nice if you guys wouldn't have a debate in class while I'm trying to teach you something really important, but you can do what you want. Um, this idea, car. general car, general image car, right? And then you have this idea of the car, right? The car that's out there, right? There's a car that's outside in your driveway or out on the road or, somewhere. Okay. A car. So there's this generalness, there's this archetype, there's this image car that you have in your mind. And then there's all these instances of cars. Like, you know, Bombay is full of cars. The number of cars here is incredible, the number of people, right? It's like a 24/7 traffic jam. Okay. It was kind of cool to think about it while we're driving into town, right? And there's the car, there's this car, there's that car, there's a car, there's black cars, there's blue cars, there's large cars, there's small cars, right? There's BMWs, there's Chevrolets, there's, you know, Teslas. Like there's all these different types of cars, right? But there's this thing that, when you think of car, let's just say car in quotes, this quality car, what makes it different from the car? Okay. When you're looking at the car, right? When you're just on the street and you're looking at a car, what are you perceiving? Are you perceiving a car? Okay. Well, the answer is, well, yes, I am. Well, okay, no, let's break it down a little bit. Okay. Let's break it down a little bit more. What are you looking at? You're seeing some round things, maybe maybe two black things, right? They're kind of round. There's kind of like I don't know, like an upside down U shape. I'm seeing some doors, right? Maybe it's moving. Maybe those black circles are moving at the bottom, right? But am I perceiving the car with your eyeballs? No, you're not. It's correct. You're not, right? You're not perceiving it. Why? Because you can't see the whole car. You're not looking at the whole car. You can't see all four wheels at the same time. Well, if I get underneath of it, Tim, I can see all four. Well, you're not looking at all four at the same time because your eye's doing this, right? Your eye's not seeing the whole thing. Your eyes are just seeing parts. It's always just seeing parts. Okay. So when you're looking at the car, objectively speaking, if there's an objectivity whatsoever, objectively speaking, what is happening? Let's say phenomenologically, that's a big word. Good luck, interpreters. Describing what I'm actually seeing, that's what phenomenology means. Describing the perception, what's actually happening. I'm seeing some colors and shapes. I'm seeing some black round things. I'm seeing an upside down U. I'm seeing some things that kind of look like doors, maybe, right? I'm not seeing a car. There's no way that I'm seeing a car. It's impossible. You're not seeing a car. Your eyes are not seeing cars. Okay? But you damn well think you are, right? How many cars did I see today in Bombay? Thousands. Super fast. Kept going by them. Like, not one time did I think, wow, I'm only seeing some parts. Right? I didn't think, oh my God, I'm just seeing some black circles. with, some beings in them, right? Or some bicycles, right? No, I didn't think that. I saw cars. I saw people in cars. I saw taxis and I saw, um, what are they called? Like motor scooter taxi things. I can't remember the names, right? I saw buses. I saw trucks. Yeah, thank you. Right. I didn't see any of those things, but I saw a car. Damn, I will not deny that I saw cars today. Okay. Well, what was I looking at? Right? What was I actually looking at? You know, this idea of this chi, this car. All right. When you when I said the word car, what did you see in your mind? Your eyes were closed. Did you see a car? I hope all of you are not nodding, yes, I saw a car. No, I mean, I hope that every single one of you, when you closed your eyes, you weren't seeing a car because that car's out there. Even the one that Sandra's in right now, she was not looking at it, but but I said car. And I'm assuming if you've all seen cars in your life, which this is why we're using this example, you saw car, right? Okay. But you had no perceptions of it, right? Your eyes weren't working, right? The image that comes up is the perfect image of car. Now you have to say, my imagination is a perception. Yeah, it is. But stick with the example. Car, perfect car, perfect image. That whole thing in your mind is not a car. That picture of your mom's first car is not a car. It can't be. It couldn't be. It's not. It's in your head. Your first car was out there. But in your mind, there was image car. Perfect image of a car. Excuse me. Perfect image car. All right. Then what happens is now listen very carefully. What happens is your eyes open up into the world and you start looking around and you get some indicators, some rounds, some blacks, some reds, da 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 da. It goes into the mind, and all those parts that you see like 5% maybe. And then your mind goes, oh, that must be a car. Bam. And then that image opens up in your mind. Car opens up. And then that those parts out there become a car for you. All right. I'm going to say it again, just in case you missed it. Your eyes open up, or your ears, or your nose, or your mouth. It doesn't matter what sense. It's just easier with eyes. Your eyes open up, and you go, okay, there's some round over there. There's some gray over there. There's some shape over there. And then the seed opens up, and then perfect image car opens. Car. And then those parts become a car for you. Notice I said a car for you, right? Where's the car? I ask you a question. Where's the car? Is it out there or is it in your mind? Lavinia got it. Okay. You know, we have to be very careful that we're not saying it's only in your mind, right? Because there is a car out there, because I'm sorry, I can get into it. It can drive me places. It can run me over. It can honk at me, right? But understand that you're never looking at a car. You never were looking at a car. You were never looking at the coworker that annoys you. You were never looking at the you were never looking at the person who you think is being irresponsible. And you were never able to stop the person being irresponsible by talking to them about being irresponsible. There never was anyone there, and there was never anything that you did to stop that. Because what's happening is that it's one seat opens, and the next seat opens, and the next seat opens, and the next seat opens, right? So you're watching seeds open, but you don't see it that way. You're seeing things happen out there by themselves. Irresponsible person, then the person who thinks they're being irresponsible telling them to become responsible. And you're telling them to become responsible is what makes them responsible, right? No. If they listen to you, it's because you had seeds in the past where you listened to other people asking you to be responsible. And if you don't do that and you don't have the seeds, it doesn't matter how much lip service you give to other people about being responsible, they won't be responsible. It won't matter because it's just a series of seeds going off. Image, 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 image. Perfect image in your mind going off in a row, including things that you do that you think that you're doing independently of other people. Excuse me, independently of your seeds from, oh, this is so hard. Translators, I'm so sorry. You think the things that you're doing are going to have an effect in the wrong way. You think that talking to people is going to solve the problem because sometimes talking to them works and sometimes talking to them doesn't work. Right. And so taking corrective actions have to be understood with emptiness, have to be understood that whether a corrective action works or not has nothing to do with whether you do the corrective action or not. It has to do with whether you have the seeds to have that work or not. Because the seed opens up, and then the next seed opens up, and then the next one opens up, and the next one opens up. The perfect image of car happening in your mind, that's the car that you're interacting with. And you think you're interacting with a car outside of you, which by the way, you are interacting with it. Okay, this is, you got to be careful, right? But all you're doing is seeing colors and shapes through your perceptions. And then the seeds open up to be a fully functional car. And that's the car you're interacting with. And so everything you're looking at is just some parts that you're then piecing together, and a seed opens up to create the whole. And that's why it's a car. And that's why it's a pen. That's why it's an irresponsible person. You're just putting the parts together. Oh, by the way, for those of you who care, those parts also are images in your mind too, if you cared. Exactly, Kathy. That's why there's miscommunications. 100%. Right. Those parts themselves are also luminous images in your mind. Okay. Oh, you thought that that was a tire? That's just a little round black thing. Oh, that roundness? Well, what makes the roundness? Oh, that's another luminous image. And you go backwards and you can't find a tire. You can't find anything, right? You can't find where it was. But there's damn well a tire there for you, and there's a car there. And you can get in and it can drive you places. And if you have the good seeds, it'll get you there. And if it gets you there safely or if it gets you there unsafely. That's all the images opening up in your mind. That's all that's happening. Change the images, change the world. Period. That blank screen that you're seeing yourself as, by the way, the person that you see yourself as are also the seeds that are coming out of you in their world as well. Change you, change the world. Get it? If you're a dog, you're going to see two toys. If you're a human, you're going to see pens. If you're an enlightened being, who knows what the heck you see? I'll let you know when I get there. The first thing I'll do, I'll come back and be like, I'll tell you what I saw. Okay. I'll do my best. Probably won't, because that's probably not what enlightened beings do. They probably come back and be like, all right, here we go, guys. What is this? It's a pen. What if a little puppy comes in the room? What is that? It's a chew toy. Who's correct? That's probably what an enlightened being does, right? They probably walk around with pens in their mouth. I don't know. I don't know what they do. I'll let you know when I get there. But understand that you're not looking at the car ever. You're only
Але
looking at car.
зрозумійте,
No, we're doing that too, right? You're only looking at the perfect images in your mind. You never were looking at anything else, but you're interacting with it as though it's out there on its own by itself. Car, annoying person, me doing this, me fixing this, me doing that, me saying this, da, 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 da. Just image after image after image, right? If you can even catch yourself in that place where you're like, there's no way that I'm seeing a full car. Like, do that exercise. Like, can you catch yourself looking at the various parts? Guess what? Maybe meditating a lot will help you with that because it slows down your perceptions. It slows down your does a couple things. It allows you to focus and capture what you're actually doing in your real life when you're out on the road, for example. And then when you're in meditation, like what you're able to see, like what are you looking at? And I can't emphasize enough that the capacity to do all of this has to do with taking care of children, for example, taking care of orphans, taking care of others who need the help, taking care of others who are helping so many other people. Like to generate the karma to be able to understand Chittagya, to understand car and the car does not come from sitting in a class listening to Tim go blah 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 about it and trying to make it like make sense of it. If you understood something, you put me here, you put yourself here, and you put the Zoom call in this place for you to understand. Or if you're not understanding, you put me here, you put yourself there, and you put the misunderstanding between us. Okay. And everything else that's happening, whether you're paying attention or you're not, whether you're awake or not, whether all these things are here because you've planted the seeds for it. And it's just an image after an image after an image, right? Yes, I have emptiness, you have emptiness, and then this teaching has emptiness, right? But understanding that you have, how the hell, like, what the hell? I'm just pixels on your screen right now. I'm not even a real person. I could tell you I was on the moon, I'm in Bombay, Antarctica, or my house in Rimrock, and you just have to believe me, right? I'm just little pixels on your screen. In fact, I'm just pixels in some replication of my voice through some speakers, right? There's something in here that's taking this and then sending it to you know, it's kind of magical, frankly. And I'm watching you and I'm like, well, who are you? Are you listening or are you paying attention? Are you understanding? I don't know. I hope so. Do I understand? I hope so. God, I hope I do. But I'm literally looking at images right now. Literally, we're all looking at an image. You're all staring at a computer screen. And we're forcing you to have your cameras on to get, you know, so you can get credit for attending the course. Just images. This is why Zoom is beautiful. You're just images. You're just parts. I can't see all of you. I can just see parts of you. My favorite example is like I can't see, I'm looking at Alina right now. I can't see the back of Alina's head. What if Alina is a triceratops? Okay. And she's trying not to laugh. And she has a big horn in the back of her head, right? Like, I don't know. I can't see the back of Alina's head. What if she's plugged into the matrix, right? She has a thing in the back of her head, right? And you're all plugged into the matrix, right? I don't know. I can't see. I have no idea what's behind you. I don't even know if you're real people. I hope you're real people, but good God, I don't know. Most of you have never met in your life or our lives, right? But what am I interacting with, right? And that's the key point is what are you seeing and what are you interacting with? And how is it possible that you're interacting with a car when you're only seeing 5% of the parts and it functions perfectly as a car for you, right? So what's happening is that image, you're seeing these parts, they come together. And a seed cracks open and this perfect image car comes out, right? And that it like, in that experience of Chuchok, highest Dharma, highest existing thing, right? You know, you see how your mind and how the seed creates an entire car that functions for you, right? And I want to leave you with one little thing before we move on. I'm going to ask a question. So we talked about car and the car. We talked about one as luminous image that opens up, right? And it goes over those parts and it becomes the car, right? So we have two parts. We have luminous image and we have the car, right? We talked about them as two separate things. But I'm going to ask you the question, what if they are the same thing? And then take that into your meditation. So once you have, so what happens is this experience, highest dharma, chuchok, where you probably have been serving a teacher for a long time. You've been studying. You've been doing your meditations. You've been following the instructions of increasing 1 minute per week, which, by the way, is purposeful. Don't think it's stupid. All right. I thought it was stupid until I did it, then I realized why it was not stupid. Okay. I'll just tell you that. It's helpful. It's incredibly helpful. You've been doing some kind of exercise, some yoga, some tai chi, hiking. I don't know. Do something for your body. You're taking care of others. You're studying. You're meditating. You're doing your best to keep your vows. Maybe a 6 times a day book. Daily training of muscles. I like that. Everyone should kiss their biceps. Come on. I want to see like you're doing your daily training. Yes. Nice. Okay. And under the influence of all of those seeds, you know, you have this moment where you look at something. The example that is often given is a pot on the stove, right? Where you're looking at your boiling water and all of a sudden you see a black stick, a gray circle. You see all of these things and you then see the image pot open up in your mind. And like from the back of your mind out through the third eye, and all of a sudden you see how that object became pot for you, became a pot for you. And then you're just like, you know, I don't know, an extraordinary thing happens. And then afterwards, you sit in meditation and then you see emptiness directly, like automatically, because you understood where things were coming from. You understood so perfectly how that seed, how those parts out there became pot for you, how the car became the car for you, you know. Then you go into this other experience where you see emptiness directly, right? And they say it takes about 20 minutes or so. Following that experience, there's a series of realizations that happen, and this is where I want to go for the rest of this class, where all of a sudden you recognize truths, facts perfectly. You understand perfectly the way things are. You understand perfectly how suffering becomes suffering. how it's being created, how it could be stopped, and the path, the way to stop it, like how to do it. You see all of those things just under the influence of having seen emptiness directly, which came from seeing the seed open for the first time, which came from serving a teacher, meditating frequently, doing some exercise, some, take care of this machine. Okay. Which came from keeping your keeping a good ethical way of life, which came from serving the poor, serving people who really need help. Okay. All of that just comes naturally, right? Once you trigger this experience, all those other experiences just kind of happen. So oftentimes we focus on seeing emptiness directly. You should focus on seeing the pot. You should focus on seeing pot. Okay. Yes, you have to study emptiness and you need to think about it and understand the three spheres, the giver, the receiver, the gift. Yes, you have to do all of those things. You have to think about where things are coming from, how things aren't coming from, how things are not coming from how you didn't treat others in the past. Okay. Where did the experience of seeing pot on the stove come from? Get it? You see, like, even that has its own emptiness. Okay. There's no experience, there's no anything, there's no Buddha that's not coming from how they treated others in the past. Seeds, merit, I don't care what you call it. Doesn't matter. The mechanism's the same. So if you can have that highest experience, then it kind of tips you over. Okay. And so what happens is there's four, and you guys can, I have a whole bunch of images. You guys can do them in the review classes. I did all of that. Okay. All right. So the first thing that happens, after you see emptiness directly, all right, when you come down from that, the aftermath, the subsequent wisdom, stuttered over that, subsequent wisdom. All right. This is called the truth of suffering. You experience this directly. All right. Dunyademba. All right. The truth of suffering. Right. What do we mean by the truth of suffering? I'll tell you what I mean by that. You understand perfectly that all life is suffering. Now, the cool thing about, let's say cool thing, is that each each of the truths, there's four truths, right? Four Arya truths, things that you know perfectly after having seen emptiness directly, right? No one can tell you otherwise. So you have these series of realizations, which are actually 4 by 4, so it's 16. There's 16 realizations, like 16 unique experiences that get grouped into four, the four Arya truths. Okay. And just to remind you, the translation noble truth is not helpful. Sure, it's noble, but it's not what Arya means. Arya has a very specific meaning. And obviously at the time that those words have a historical meaning as well, and we should be careful with it. But the idea of a superior being, an Arya, someone who has seen emptiness directly, right? There's nothing noble. I mean, it's very noble, I would suppose, but it's not what it means, right? These are four things, 16 things that people experience, that you experience directly. Okay. And in this first truth, the truth of suffering, Dugnyao Demba, there's four parts, okay? And you perfectly understand that all life is suffering. What do we mean by it? First is physical suffering, the impermanence, excuse me, the impermanence of this life. Okay. Gravity will win. Sorry, right? You will physically suffer. You were born, you will die, right? Age has nothing to do with it. Although once you're older, you get closer to that, but age really hasn't had much to do with whether you're alive or not. Like your karma sustains you. Um, but eventually this body will have to die. Gravity goes and wins, right? And the second part of this is a mental kind of suffering. And after you see emptiness directly for some time afterwards, they say that you can read people's minds and you see directly the suffering that is in everybody's mind. Thank the karmic gods that you can't hear everybody else's mind. Okay. I don't know how a Buddha does it. Again, I'll let you know when I get there. Okay. But the mental anguish, the mental suffering that's in people's minds, like if you've ever had any inkling or any feeling of what's in people's minds, like and know it, it's horrendous, right? The kind of suffering that's there is it's even worse than physical suffering for a lot of people. The third thing is that because of all of this, people feel empty. Not empty as an emptiness, but they feel empty. They feel like this is something that you just can't escape from, right? And it's a particular feeling of like if you've suffered enough, physically and mentally, it can bring you to this place where it just feels like there's no way to escape this, no matter how hard you try. And in fact, you can't escape it without understanding emptiness anyhow, right? We're destined to continue in the cycle. And finally, you understand how beings perceive that things are not themselves, meaning that the pot isn't a pot. The car isn't a car. But normal beings don't see that. And so an Arya sees how that creates so much suffering. Like they see it directly. Like they understand that there's what's happening for a non-Arya, for a Sosokewo, is tremendously painful because a pot isn't a pot, yet you think it's a pot. A car isn't a car, but you think it's a car. You think that person out there is that person, but they're not a person. Right? You think you are you and you're not you. Okay. And it's a site, it's pretty awful. That's why it's called the truth of suffering. Okay. Now, the second truth, not to be totally depressed about it. Oops. Hello. Hello, Spider-Man. The second truth is that, oh God, I lost my page. There we are. The second truth is that that suffering actually has a cause, right? Just like Spider-Man had a cause, right? Spider-Man wasn't Spider-Man until Spider-Man got bit. It's the lamest superhero ever. Just kidding, just kidding. I love Superman, or excuse me, Spider-Man. Maybe I have a thing for Superman didn't have a cause. Superman just came from another planet, right? But you see, like Spider-Man became Spider-Man because Spider-Man was bit by a spider, right? Your suffering became suffering because the suffering had a cause, right? And that mainly is misunderstanding. And the second aria truth has four parts. Okay. And I already said it to you earlier in class, but the main cause is that when you do things for others, you're thinking only of yourself. You're only thinking of yourself. Okay. No, all good, all bad. You're actually just thinking about yourself. You're hoping that someone will notice you. And this is a huge realization. If you hold this, if you don't take anything away from this class and you just think to yourself, I'm doing this because I want someone to notice me, it'll change your life. It'll change your life because then all of a sudden you're going to catch how many thoughts you have that are just really about you. Now, I didn't say don't go help people. I didn't say don't go serve. I didn't say don't do all those things. Didn't say that. I said catch your mind when you're doing it. It does, Tracy. It truly sucks. That's why we're here. We're trying to figure this out. You know, looking at what your motivation is will then inspire you to have a different motivation. The second, the second one is called the source, where all the trouble in your life is coming from seeds and you misunderstand it. Okay. You misunderstand where things are coming from. And what's even worse, the third one, is that when you bring two people together who misunderstand seeds, things just get even worse. Okay. You know, I have a lot of people who come to me and ask me about like their relationships and they're having difficulties with their partner, or you're like, well, I'm in the Dharma and I'm studying this, but my partner doesn't, and what should I do? Should I leave them and try to find someone else, or should I try to change the seeds so that so that then maybe they'll one day study, or maybe I met my partner and but I'm with somebody else, or I've heard it all. I've heard very every variation of it. Oh, I met my partner. If I just change the seeds, they'll want me. What, they don't want you now? No. But if I change the seeds, they'll want me. You know, I've heard it all. You know, it's all based in a misperception. You know, what I said earlier in the first class, the idea that everyone has been your mother, right? And you apply the same logic and you can say, oh, everyone has also been my partner, from life to life, infinite lives. Everyone here, right? Everyone's been your mother. Everyone's been your partner. What? What do I do with that? Celebrate it. This life is different, right? In some lives, you were the teacher. Some lives, you were the student. Some lives, you were the partner. Some lives, you were the mother. Some lives, you were the father. Some lives, you were the enemy. Let's not focus on the negative. We all hated each other at some point too. So good luck. Okay, don't worry about it. No, but seriously, think about it. If we've all had those possibilities and we've been all those things to each other, you know, what makes this life more important than those? What makes any of those things more important than those other things? It's a misunderstanding. Even trying to think about it is fueled with misunderstanding while you're trying to understand it. You know, don't focus on the people. Focus on serving others, right? Plant the seeds. Like that's the only thing we can do. Well, what if the person's not the right person? Well, I don't know. It's hard to say. Like the seeds are already out of the ground. Like you were born. You have a certain constitution. You have certain things. Like I can't make my hair black. I'm sorry. I don't have black hair. Okay. Sorry, the seeds opened up that I don't have black hair, right? I'm too short. I'm not tall enough. Okay, am I going to focus on that seed? Well, that's great, you know, but like what's going to give you the most bang for the buck? What do you say that's going to give you the most return? Like, what's the greatest investment? Like, there's some seeds that are just not going to change. You know, you could spend your time trying to change one person, or you could spend the time trying to change yourself. You know, and then happiness will come regardless. Focusing on other people, focusing on what they need, focusing on building more and more wisdom will then create the happiness you need. You don't have to worry about whether it's this person or that person. I can't wait for that person to finally like me. Like I've had people come to me, by the way, I've done this myself, so I'm allowed to say it. Right? If I only plant different seeds, they'll like me. If I only plant different seeds, they'll be my partner. Yeah, but they already said no, or they've given you no indication, Tim, that they like you. Do you waste your time with someone who doesn't like you, or do you waste your time with going to the nursing home and helping someone who's lonely, who needs a companion? Like obsessing over the seed that's already ripened versus planting the seed that could actually change things, you know. But if we really get into the mush of it all, right? Like, you know, we have to like slowly pull those things apart, pull each misunderstanding out. And that's why you need a teacher to unlock each of those misunderstandings, right? And the more you resist it, the more gnarly it gets. And you'll meet your resistances, I promise. Now, the fourth aspect of the second Arya truth is actually the first time we have a positive thing that happens. Okay. Everything up to this moment has been depressing. The fourth factor of the second Arya truth is seeing the seeds open for the very first time, right? You understand perfectly how you're creating your entire world, the things you like and the things you don't like, the people that like you, the people that don't like you. and you see that you see this the simplicity of it in all of its grandeur, glory, and you see how it's all coming from you. All right. Now we're going to move into the positive, just to make it a little bit. We're not going to end with some negativity here. Here we are. So, oh, sorry. I didn't give you the Tibetan. Kunjun Demba. All right. That's the everything has a cause. All right. The third Arya truth. I like this one, interpreters. It's a play on impossible and it's possible. Okay. And this is the truth of cessation, the truth of stopping. Okay. And then what it means is that it is possible to end this suffering. And what does this look like? The first part of this truth is that you stop the cause for losing the loved ones. Excuse me, you stop the cause for losing your loved ones. Okay. The second one is you see the future. You see your own enlightenment. You see yourself completely transformed. Typically, they say in the Abhidharma that it's 7 lifetimes, and you might see that directly, how many more lives you have left. Right? And you realize that every time, someone made a statue or a tanka, that it is the appearance of a real Buddha because you saw a real Buddha when you saw that emptiness. And you might do your very first prostration, actual prostration. Third one is that you see the beauty of this world and you celebrate the dependence and how everything is independence. Everything is in dependence, like dependent origination. Like you celebrate this. And you might try to find something that represents this, like a diamond, for example. You might get a diamond to not forget what you saw. And the fourth thing is that you just are happy. Like someone who's seen emptiness directly is, I mean, look, you might still have 7 lifetimes left, but it's only 7 more, guys. It ain't so bad. You're going to have teachers, things are going to be fine. Well, you still have to die. Yes. What's 7 more when there's been gazillion, zillion, billions, right? It's settled. I like that, right? Infinite numbers before. So like what's 7 more? Who cares? Like great. You have good karma. You're gonna always have teachers. You're gonna be born into a good situation. It's like, like relax. Okay, this body has to get old. Fine. I'll do it again 6 more times. Maximum. Then the fourth Arya truth is called dee-dee-dee. Come on, picture. Sorry. It's called Lamden, right? That there is a path to do it where you understand perfectly that there's a way to reach the end of suffering and you know how to do it. You actually reach the end of a rainbow, right? Maybe with your rainbow body. Like, so the first thing is you understand the path perfectly and you have no doubts. You know, You always will, you understand how to do it. You understand the reasons of deceptive reality. You understand the reasons of emptiness. You help others, like, you know that you're going to help others. You know what steps to take. You know you'll always have teachers in your future life, and you also know that you yourself will be a teacher because that's what a Buddha is. Tumba, a teacher. Okay. So when you see emptiness directly, there's a couple things that happen. What happened here? Sorry, guys, I lost my screen again. There. Is that the first thing that you stop? Like of the was it 80,000 mental afflictions, you only get rid of two or three, which is depressing as hell. Oops, we're not there yet. But you understand that the illusion never, you can never believe again in the illusion. That the discrepancy between the way things appear and the way they are, while you still see things incorrectly, you don't believe it anymore. Now, an Arya doesn't stop seeing things coming from their own side at first, but you never again believe and get fooled by it. You know it's happening, you know it looks that way, but it's not that way. All right. Make sure I get this right before I rattle it off. Want to mess this up. Hold on 1 second. I just want to make sure I got this correct. Okay, yeah. So the first thing you lose is the intellectual belief in self-existence. Okay. The second thing is happens. I'll give the people in Taiwan are not allowed to answer this. Oh, Theodore, Theodore, you already got it. Okay. No, got my image here. Okay. Right. You never have a doubt again about the teachings in the path. You've seen their truth directly. You know how to reach that. Okay. And there's certain experiences that happen here as well that have to do with you know that the path is completely true and you have no longer have any doubt on it, right? You know you're going to be taken care of, so you don't have any doubts about that. And you know that you're not supposed to hurt this body, right? You have to take care of it. Like this is your vessel. This is the vessel. This is what's going to take you there. Okay. Like if you hurt this, you can't do it. You can't do it. See? So you have to take care of it, which was one of the reasons why I went to, went to this wellness center in India, right? To take care of my body. Like, gotta keep this machine going. Like, just getting older, right? And I can't stop it, right? Can't stop its aging. You know, I can, but if I'm not taking care of it, then I'm not, I'm cutting off my possibility from deeper realizations and serving others, right? So it's not like I'm just taking a 2 week vacation. There's a purpose behind it, but there's also a purpose of just, you know, relaxing, giving it what it needs. All right. There's a few more things to talk about, which I think you can do a lot of those things in your groups. But I think the most important thing is when we're talking about emptiness is you can't just leave people there. Like you can't just, thank you. You can't just leave people at, you know, um, with a discussion of everything is coming from them, or you gotta watch how you're taking care about, like you have to really bring everything together, especially if you're teaching this and leaving people with a feeling of hope, but the feeling that you can't just stop at an understanding of emptiness. It has to then be built upon a foundation of how you're treating other people. Because if you're going to then try to see these deep things, the only way you can do that is by understanding that each and everything you do and your thoughts and your words and your deeds have a impact. It's not just like, oh, I had this random thought, or I went to this, I watched this diamond wave owls, which gives you a whole bunch of other ones, right? Whatever it is that you're practicing with is to be so careful and gentle with yourself and with others, right? You know, how we approach people, how we are with them, how we are with ourselves. Because we have emptiness too. Treating yourself well is also part of the game. Taking care of your own mind, your own heart, taking care of other people's minds and their hearts as well. Because things are empty, you have to take care of others. You don't have a choice. It's not despite because they're empty or because they're empty, it doesn't matter. It's the exact opposite. Everything matters. It matters even more. And I'm sorry, you're all cursed, but the more you do this, the more careful you have to be. Because the more you understand, the more ripples that you make, good or bad. And when we do make mistakes, also just be gentle. Look, we're just practitioners. And for the love of seeds, don't be so hard on other people who are practitioners too. Like we're all trying our best. We're really just trying our best. And as a community, I think we have to remember that. We're just trying our best. Because good God, like if we didn't have these things, like what would our world be like? What imagine if you didn't have this, what your world would be like. Even if you are still fighting some demons, right? You know. And so I just want to leave you guys with that thought of because if you understand where it is coming from, if you're understanding this, how these images open up in your mind, what images do you want to open up? What sustained images do you want to open up? It's great to have glimpses into paradise, but I don't want glimpses. I want sustained paradise. But we start with glimpses. We start with little bits. Wow, that was cool. Wow, I think I saw a Buddha there. Great. How did I get that? Oh, it must have been a good seed that I planted. Well, I want more than 2 seconds. I want 10 seconds. Oh, this person's not my spiritual partner. Okay, well, turn them into your spiritual partner. Right? Well, what if they're not acting that way? Okay, well, then just go do the things that make people act like that. Become it yourself. Then don't worry about whether this person or that person or my husband is not this and I should break up with this person and go with this other person. Just stop it. Okay. Stop worrying about those things. Like, take care of what's in front of you. And then let the seeds take care of the rest. Like really, really, just let those some things are already out of the ground, you know. Some seeds have already ripened and they're pretty hard to unravel. But don't do something unethical in this in the name of enlightenment. Don't. Like that's the exact opposite. All right. Thank you all for joining. I hope you had a wonderful day learning about the Diamond Cutter Sutra. This is one of my favorite topics, and I really enjoyed preparing it. I'm very excited about, again, to see how many people are meeting regularly to go over these courses and to go over these classes. Whether you're doing it for their first time or you're doing it for the 10th time, it's extraordinary. And I just want to thank all of you for doing that. So again, thank you very much. Thanks to the tech team. Thank you to the interpreters. I'm sorry that I was a little over the top a few times. I do my best. And yeah, good luck in the next month or so. And then we'll come back because what's happening next, now that you understand emptiness, we're going to talk about all the seeds that you need called the Bodhisattva vows. All the things the Bodhisattva does to plant those seeds. How do they live, practice, and think? Right? And that's what we're going to next. Again, thank you all very much. And then please say goodbye to each other. Turn on your microphones, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Tim.
Дякуємо.
Thank you so much.
Teacher.
Thank you so much. Щастя з нами.
Bendiciones a todos.
Дуже дякую.
So much.
Дуже дякую.
Muchas gracias. Hasta luego.
Дякую. До побачення.
One in India.
Thank you so much, dear teacher. Stay. Please stay.
Coconut.
Так гарно, так красиво.
Дуже дякую.
Благодарю.